Good evening, everybody. Am I audible to you? Please let me know if I'm audible or not. Okay. So since we have done with the demo yesterday, today we are going to start off with a service called EC2. So let me share you my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay. Okay. So today we are going to start off a service called EC2. So I have asked you to do a little research about it. So let's talk about EC2. What is EC2 full form, guys? What is EC2 full form? What is EC2 full form? Meanwhile, you give me the full form of EC2. I'll just come in a second. Just give me a second, guys. Thank you for letting me know. It is Elastic Compute Cloud. So now please tell me why it is only Elastic Compute Cloud. Why not Elephant Coconut Cream? Why it is called as Elastic Compute Cloud? Why not something else? It's a web service. So, okay. So let's say this EC2 is called as backbone of AWS because all other services, like VPC, EBS, S3 are interlinked with EC2. So this is called as Elastic Compute Cloud, and why it is called only that we will see. So it is called as cloud since it is one of the cloud service, right? We are dealing with. It is called as cloud. And compute means what? Basically, for example, let's say if you are trying to launch some 1,000 machines, 1,000 number of machines of maybe 100 GB RAM, 100 TB hard disk, or 100 CPU processors, you know, the ability of AWS to launch this many number of services is called the compute capacity of AWS. So that means it doesn't matter, within minutes it can launch thousands of servers. So the ability of AWS to launch this many number of machines of this much configuration within minutes is possible with compute capacity of AWS. That is what the computing here means. And now what is elasticity mean? What does elastic mean? What does elastic mean? Anybody? Scalable. So that means something you can increase or decrease, right? Scalable. So that means something that you can increase or decrease. So you can make it as flexible, scalable, whatever the all bills are there, like extendable, extensible, expandable. But how did this elastic property came for this particular service? That is my question. So in order to know that particular thing, how does the elasticity property came to EC2 service? Let us observe two cases. One is, let's say I have an 8 GB and 2 TB hard disk. Can I change the configuration of this machine without physically touching it? Is it possible? Is it possible to change? No. Why it is not possible? Because let's say, you have another machine, with the same features, 8 GB RAM and 2 TB hard disk. But here you have something extra. Let's say something like a pen drive. In the second case, is it possible, like is in this case, elasticity is possible or not in the second case? Yes. Why? Because you can change your pen drive capacity from 4 GB to 8 GB, 8 GB to 16, 16 to 32, 32 to 256. Even you can even make it into a hard disk of 1 TB, 2 TB, or 3 TB. Because the resource that you're dealing with here is an external resource here. But the resources that you are dealing within this particular machine are internal resources. That is why without physically touching this particular machine's internal configurations, you can't change the configuration of that particular machine because pen drive is an external source in the second case. So elasticity to configure is possible and feasible in the second case when compared to the first case. So now how elasticity came to EC2? Let's talk about that. For example, if you want to buy a PC or a laptop, what do you see? What are the basic things that you see? If you want to buy a computer or a PC or a laptop or whatever you call it, what are the basic things you see? So you see a processor, you see some RAM. What else? What else do you see? What else do you see? What else do we require? So hard disk, HD, and what is the other thing you require? What is the other thing that you require? Processor is already told. You require an OS. So AWS is providing you or giving the customers the flexibility of or the choice of choosing whatever the CPU they want, whatever the RAM they want, whatever the hard disk they want, and whatever the OS they want. Okay, so this combination is giving them the required configuration of the machine that they want to create, which is why EC2 is having the nature of elasticity as of now. So let's discuss about these four components in detail. So what is OS? Can anybody tell me what is OS? What is OS? Operating system. Operating system. So what is operating system, guys? What is operating system? What is operating system? Which is operates different elements. No, interface between hardware and software. So basically, so OS acts as a translator between human and machine interaction. OS acts as a translator between human and machine interaction. They act as how a Google Translator works. In the same way, it acts as a translator between human and machine interaction. So now, tell me how many types of OSs are there? How many types of OSs are there? How many types of OSs are there? How many types? What are those basically? Windows. What else? Linux. What else? Mac OS. Ubuntu. What else is there? Unix. Okay, let's talk. Which came first here? Which one came first? Which came first? Windows. Okay, let's talk about Windows. Is the source code of Windows is open to the world? Is the source code open to the world? No. Is it free to use? Is it free to use? No, it is not free to use. And what are the versions that we have got till now? First came what? 98. Then what else did we get? XP. Then Windows 98. Then XP. Then Vista. Then Windows 7. Windows 8. Windows 10. Then 10 Pro for few days. Then we have 11, and currently we are having some 11 Pro version, which some people are calling it as 12, and some are still calling it as 11. So the language, guys, what is source code basically? What is source code? What is source code? The language or the programming or the algorithm or the technology or the tool, whatever the name you put it, which is used to design that Windows OS is called as the source code, guys. Okay. I've been expecting, but nobody is answering. So let's say uh, no one knows this source code except for Microsoft, right? Let's now go ahead and talk about there are these laptop versions and desktop versions. Similarly, we use like how we have this laptop or desktop versions, we have some higher configuration machines. We call them as servers. Okay, so these particular servers also have some server editions. Do you know that? What are the server editions of Windows that you know of? Have you heard of something like Win 2008, Win 2012, Win 2016? Have you heard of them? Win 2019. These are all called as the the versions for servers that you have given. The guys, only the name is different. OS is the same. Okay, even for laptop or desktop or for a server, it is going to be the same. But but from version to version, what will happen from here to here? Only some 5% changes, 5% of differences that you observe from version to version. That is what happens in the upgradation. Okay, but 95% it stays the same. Only 5% changes will be there, which you can learn yourself, right? You will not take any coaching or something or training for learning how to operate the updated versions, right? Yes or no? Now let's discuss about Unix a little bit. What is this Unix and stuff? What is the source code for Unix is open to the world? Is the source code for Unix is open to the world? Yes or no? Is the source code of Unix open to the world or not? You can simply Google search it. I'm not expecting you to give a clean answer. It is open to the world. Yes. And is it free to use? Is it free to use? Is it free to use? Anvesh, Tarun, is it free to use? Yes, it is free to use. Okay. So, knowing that this particular Unix is open to the world, so a guy came in and he did what? A guy called Linus Torres, Linus Torres has come, and what did he do? He took the source code and created what? And created what? Linux. Thank you. And created Linux. And then Linux. And then similarly, Apple guy came and he created what? Apple guy came and he created what? Mac OS, right? And then HP guy came and HP guy created what? HP person created what OS? HP UX. Okay. And then IBM guy came and he created what? IBM guy came and created what? AIX. Okay. And then Sun Microsystems came and they created Solaris. Okay. So these are all derived from Unix. Okay. So these are, and let's say these are all of these are free. All of these voices are free. Only Linux is free. Rest everything is not free. These are all called as flavors of Unix. These are all called as flavors of Unix. Okay, because since Linus Torres took it for free, he made it for free, but not but other companies said that it is not free as they wanted the profits and stuff. And these are all called as flavors of Unix. And now, is Linux source code open to the world? Is Linux source code open to the world? Yes, it is open to the world. And because Linux is open to the world, Linux source code is open to the world. And is it free to use? And is it free to use? Yes. So since Linux is free and open, so then the Red Hat enterprises came and they created what? Red Hat enterprises created what? RHEL. And then a group of people came together and created what? CentOS. Then came Ubuntu. Then came Fedora. Then came, Amazon Linux. Then came SUSE Linux. OpenMint, SUSE Linux. These are all what? These are all known as flavors of Linux. These are all known as flavors of Linux. So now I have a question, guys. Okay. So 95%, who is the father here for all the OSs? 95%, who is the father of all the OSs here? Unix. So the most common interview question is, they'll ask you, who is the father of OSs? Unix, which came first, Unix or Linux? And what is the answer? What is the answer? Which came first? Unix. Okay. So if you know how to work on any one of the OSs, then you can work on any OS provided, be it any one, as it has only 5% of changes. So here, if you can observe, I have called Windows 1 as versions. Okay. Here, I have called these Windows OSs updates as versions. Whereas I have referred, here in Unix and Linux, I have referred them as flavors. Why did I mention them like that? Can you tell me? Why did I mention them like versions and flavors? What is the difference here? Why these are called as versions and why these are called as flavors? What is the answer? Why? Because they are derived from Unix and Linux. Okay. What do you think? Versions are extended one, flavors are own versions. They are not updates. Okay. So the answer is very simple here, guys. Okay. See, all these updates are they from the same company or different company? 98 XP, Vista, 7, 8, 10, 10 Pro, 11. Same company. And what is that company here? What is that company here? Microsoft, right? So, but here in the sense of Unix and Linux, you see, there are different companies are involved and everything is unique here. right? Even though the core stays the same, but the everything is unique to itself. So that's why Windows updates, updated OSs are referred as versions, and different OSs that came from Unix and Linux are referred as flavors, since they are unique and they belong to a different company because they created their own versions out of it. So the ultimate question, is uh, these are known, these are called as versions, since it belongs to the same company, but here these are all unique according, because multiple companies are involved. So now whatever we have discussed in this, few of them are provided by Amazon. So moving further, we will see how to launch Windows, Linux, so on and so forth. And on the other hand, we have the HP, Mac, all the things also. Out of the above mentioned OSs, there are some of which are provided by AWS itself. So now let's discuss about what we call the OS in language of AWS. Okay, so what do you call hard disk in the language of AWS? What do you call a processor in the language of AWS? We will see. See, the common words like OS, RAM, a TV, box. These are all very commonly known terms, but in the language of AWS, we won't use exact words, but technical words are used instead. So now let's talk about the terminology of the stuff. So let's start with OS here. So OS is called as OS is called as OS is called as AMI, which means Amazon Machine Image, which is Amazon Machine Image. Okay, and now we get CPU and RAM in a combination. They come together. You might ask me now, ma'am, you just said that, we can choose whatever, AWS is giving an option for CPU separately, RAM separately, everything, and now you are contradicting your statements. So, let's say earlier what happened is, let's say for one for 1,000 CPU, can you give a combination of one RAM? For 1,000 CPU, can you give a combination of one RAM? Is it a good combination? No, because it is like attaching a bus engine to a bike, because it can't pull that much of processor for that small of a RAM. Now let's say for one CPU, can you give 1,000 RAM? Of course you can give. But it was disastrous because there are wasted resources here. So these are all disastrous combinations, which is not at all efficient combination. So here we cannot completely blame or say it's the mistake of people here, because as the cloud technology is new, they might not have known how to use it. So what Amazon did is they only started to give the combination of CPU plus RAM, like for one CPU 2 RAM, for two CPU 4 RAM, for 8 CPU 16 196 to 3940, like that, so it comes in pairs. So you don't buy shoes separately, right? Like pen and a cap. So they both come as a set. So what is the name given to this combination of CPU and RAM? We call them as instance type. We call it as instance type. Okay, so moving further, whenever you hear instance type, means it's a combination of CPU and RAM. So the final thing is hard disk now. So what does hard disk is called as? Hard disk is called as EBS, which means elastic block store. Elastic block store. So since it is a storage module, it is called a store, so it is store. And since we can increase or decrease, it has this elasticity property, it is called as elastic. So this EBS, so there is not much discuss about the name, but let's talk about this whole block storage kind of stuff. What is this and stuff? So basically this EBS is divided into two parts. So this EBS is divided into two parts. Okay. One is block storage and the other one is object storage. Okay. One is block storage and the other one is object storage. Object storage. So what does this block storage means? Where you can store OSS, databases, that is called as block storage. And what does this object storage means? All the kinds of extensions. What is the object type of storage means? You can have PNG, JPG, PDF, PPT, CSV, TXT, MP3, MP4, whatnot, all the kinds of extensions. Okay. So basically the drive that represents object storage in our systems is D drive, E drive, F drive, and if it is a virtual one, Google Drive. Okay. And what is the drive that represents block storage in our systems? C drive. Okay. Which is also known as, what is the other name for C drive? Anybody? What is the other name for C drive? For example, if your home screen is not loading up, what you will do? You will reboot your system. So whenever you reboot your system, let's say, does all the drives get rebooted or only C drive gets rebooted? Because only C drive has the bootable properties. Only C drive is rebooted because OS is there only, and there is a problem with launching the OS. That is why it is known as bootable drive. Bootable drive. Okay. So now tell me, can a block storage act as object storage? Can a block storage act as object storage? That means, can we store files in C drive? Of course we can. Yes. But can an object storage act as block storage? No. Because questions like, can you install OS in D drive? These are all gone. Okay, so try to remember stuff like this. So now for launching a server in EC2, what you have to do, what you need in cloud, basically you require a combination of this stuff. So you require this AMI plus instance type plus EBS gives you the required configuration configuration of server, which is nothing but we call it as EC2 instance. Okay. So this particular combination will give you an EC2 instance. Okay. AMI plus instance type plus EBS will give you the required configuration of the machine, which of instance we call it as EC2 instance in AWS. Okay. So let us quickly go ahead and see. So let us talk about Elastic Compute Cloud. So Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud is a web service that provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud. So when I say resizable, that means what? When the machine is running itself, without stopping the machine, you can increase or decrease the hard disk, increase or decrease the RAM, increase or decrease the CPU processors, everything without stopping the machine. That is what resizable means. So is it possible with a physical machine? If it is a physical machine, if it is not a cloud machine, is it possible to do that? Is it possible to change the stuff without stopping the machine? No. Okay. So compute capacity means what? I have already told you. The ability of launching n number of machines with whatever the configuration within minutes is called as compute capacity. Okay. So the capacity means RAM, CPU, any configuration. So what is instance type here? For example, let's say, what is the instance type? What is instance type? It's the combination of CPU and RAM. So EC2 reduces the time to launch a new instances to minutes, allowing you to quickly scale capacity both up and down. That means you can scale up your servers as you require. So these are all flavors of Unix. So Linux OS, Mac OS, AX, Solaris, HP UX, these are all flavors that came out of Unix. And now these are all flavors of Linux. RHEL, CentOS, Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Linux Mint, all this stuff is Linux flavors. So this is earlier. So the instance type is something like this, where you get one CPU and one RAM for free under free tier. So the regular instance type that we use is T2.micro, which is a free tier eligible one, which will not cost us any money, and we have to use only that. So this is a screenshot of previous console. That is why you can see some things here. But now console is not like this, but we will be seeing the console later on. So these are the instance types of EC2. Okay, so T2.micro, Nano, everything is there. So like this, more than 500 combinations of 500 plus combinations of instance types are there. But you do not need to worry. You don't need to remember all these things. You just use whatever that you require, and you will just pick the option from here. Okay, then there is EBS, which is Elastic Block Store. Okay, so EBS allows you to create storage and attach them to EC2 instances. So there are two types of EBSs. One is object storage and the other one is block storage. Object storage has every kinds of extensions, be it MP3, MP4, PNG, JPG, TXT, CSV, PPT, PDF, whatever the extension is, all the file extensions are under object storage. So the drive that represents uh, sorry, you cannot see my screen. You are not seeing my PPT here. No. Okay, I've been talking about this PPT. I don't know how much you have seen. So Amazon Elastic. Okay, now you can see the PPT. Now can you see the PPT? Okay, I thought that you are able to see this, and I was talking about this PPT. So Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute is a web service that provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud. So I was talking about this slide earlier. And then these are the Unix flavors that we have spoken about. These are the Linux flavors that we have spoken about. So these are the instance types that we have. This is what I'm talking about right just now before we started EBS. So T2.micro is the free tier eligible one that we have, which we get with one CPU and 1 GB RAM, which we are going to use for our further practicals and stuff. So like this, you have like T2 Nano, T2 Micro, small, medium, large, T2.2 large. Like this, you have 500 plus combinations of CPU and RAM. That means instance types are there. So you do not need to remember them. So do not worry for that. Then there is EBS that we have just discussed, which has object storage and block storage. So block storage means you have OSs and databases where C drive represents it. And object storage means all the kinds of file extensions, which is represented by a drives called D drive, E drive, F drive. And if it is a virtual drive that we are talking about and we are using every day, it is Google Drive. So here on moving further, I say laptop, desktop, server, machine, PC, box, instance, all are technically same. I'm just referring to a virtual server. Okay. Since you are all in the learning phase, try to use instance more. Once you join any company, no one will pay attention to what you say. But if your manager asks you to launch, a Windows machine or a Linux machine, they say launch Windows instance or Linux instance like that. So what are the important points in today's class, guys? What are the important points? The terminology of AWS, which is AMI, EBS, instance type. Okay. And also a little intro into what is EC2, Unix flavors. Yes. What else? Linux flavors and stuff. Okay. So at the end of each session, starting on today, I request you all people make a document of all the keywords I give you. Okay, at the end of the class, because 80% of the interview questions come from this only. So please try to make a notes or try to keep some important questions or important words. Try to note them off. Okay. So, so you don't have any questions for today? Is everything clear till now? So that will be for today evening. Thank you so much for joining up. So tomorrow, probably tomorrow, for the next session, we will be doing our first practical of launching Windows instance. So try to do a little research on how to launch a virtual server or how to launch a virtual Windows instance. Try to just have a little research into it or try Googling for security group and keypairs like that stuff. Okay. So that's it for today evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Attendance part, normally you have received along with the Telegram group and stuff in the same mail, you might have received a feedback form. So if you fill your feedback form, because there are questions about the session and stuff. So if you fill your feedback form, that is considered as your attendance normally. So if it is not provided, I'll just remind the admin team from my end to make sure that you receive a feedback form if you haven't received it. Okay. So that will be for today evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great evening and great dinners with your family. Bye-bye. Take care.